Good morning, social media world. Good morning, Facebook. We are here today with the amazing and beautiful Dr. Tamara Hill Bennett. How are you?
How are you, my love?
I'm doing great. I'm doing fantastic. I've got my classy little teacup. Yeah, it's a little outdoor, some doggies running around. I've got tea
Awesome.
today. Yeah.
I have to get my coffee.
Yeah, I know. You and I, we were like running around like we better get we
We
gotta
better
get
get something.
we gotta get something. It's like Thursday. I don't know about you, but I'm always best on Mondays. And so
Yeah, why did you schedule this on Monday? Like, really? No.
it's true. It does beg that question, doesn't it? It's like, if you're best on Monday, why isn't this on Mondays?
Yes, yeah. I would say for me, probably Monday is good. Monday is good
Hit
because
the
with the
ground
week,
running.
hit the ground running with the
Yeah.
week. Sometimes you're not getting that sleep like last night.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what was happening. My doggie's got some issues, and so he wasn't having a good night,
Mhm.
which means I wasn't having a good night. So I'm
Yeah.
like dragging, and it's Thursday, and so by the time I hit Friday, it's not as fresh. It's not as fresh, but that's
No, but
okay.
it's okay. We got this.
Yeah,
We got this. We
exactly. We
got this.
do.
That's what entrepreneurs do, right?
Right.
That's what we
Yeah,
do.
you
And
lean
then
heavily into that gratitude and that appreciation, and you just take a minute. You just take a minute. Maybe you have a little extra coffee.
oh, no.
You just do what you need to do.
Yeah.
You give yourself permission, right?
You definitely have to. I mean, I think with life, you have to give yourself permission to take care of yourself. That's number one. And just try to get mindset ready. I think for the past few years, I
Yeah.
think that's kind of been with me. Mindset has just been like trying to really get centered a little bit more. And then you prayerfully, it works and helps with everybody.
Yeah.
Kissing my husband goodbye. He's off
Oh.
getting out. So you'll probably hear in the background the alarm go open up the
Bye,
door. Just
hubby.
fine.
Have a good day.
He can't hear you. It's in my ear.
Oh
Kristen,
yeah,
you
yeah. Oh,
haven't
I
met
didn't see.
Kristen yet, but she
You got
said, have a good day.
Thank you.
He said, thank you.
you got that lovely hair flowing. I couldn't see your earbuds.
Yes. You gotta hide things. You gotta hide things.
Well, listen, so you and I met several months ago when you came to us for your branding photography. We had a blast.
Awesome time.
It was so good. You rocked it so hardcore. You did one of our hybrid sessions where you came into the studio. We photographed so many things. And then we also went out into nature. We went to the nature preserve and also photographed photos that kind of lended themselves and leaned into that spirituality and that faith base that you have. And so it turned out beautiful. You rocked it so hard, and it was so awesome.
Yes, thank you so much. I think one of the things that I really, really enjoyed was, and I'm actually stealing a little bit of that technique, is getting that call up front.
Yeah.
So for those of you that are on, I am an optometrist by trade, but through COVID and this whole thing, that's what she said, hybrid, right? We kind of
Yeah.
using those terms right now.
Mm-hmm.
I needed to figure out a way to God was pushing me in a different direction. God is pushing me in a
Mm-hmm.
different direction. Well, not
Mm-hmm.
different. He's adding on. And that's why
Yeah.
I'm tired right now. Just adding on. And so I created a life and business coaching practice, and I'm in seminary. So it was
busy.
busy. So it was important for me when Kristen was asking me, the question is, when you're taking these photos, how can you encapsulate basically that big term? How can you put it all together in a photo, right?
Yeah.
And she did that perfectly.
Yeah, it was so awesome and such an honor. And you talked about that phone call. We call that a discovery call. And sometimes we call it a pre-consult because people can wrap their brain around that a little bit more. But
Mhm.
hearing, like from the first moment we talked, I was so blown away and so excited to hear about all of these endeavors that you're pursuing and all these passions that you have. And that's really what the discovery is about, is us discovering together what those passions and drives are, what your goals are, and how do we create a beautifully visually stunning portfolio of photos for you to then put out into the world and say, hey, this is what I'm about, this is what I'm doing, join me.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let's talk about some of those amazing endeavors and pursuits. I have been calling you a multipreneur.
Oh, I'm gonna use that.
Yeah, I
I'm
think,
going
yeah.
to use
So
that.
that's the best,
I've been
that's
saying serial entrepreneur because that's what I heard somebody say, and I'm like, oh, I'm a serial entrepreneur, but I like multipreneur. Yes, I
yeah,
love that.
serial only because of like murderers sound
Yes,
it sounds a little
I got you on
aggressive,
that one.
right?
It's a little aggressive. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm gonna switch
Yeah.
that. Yes, I'm a multipreneur. So yeah, I
Yes.
think for me is like my passion is always with eye care. I mean, that's just everything. But somebody hit the hammer on a nail for me, probably about a couple of weeks ago. Actually, my media people, they was like, Doc, you're all about vision,
Oh
vision for
yeah.
health, vision for people's life, vision for people's business. You're
Who are
all
these people
about
that told
vision.
you this? This is great. This is
I know,
great.
and guess what? Listen, y'all, all y'all old heads. I'm gonna tell y'all now. Listen to some of these millennials because they took some pieces from us. Yes, they did, and then now they're giving it back to us
Mhm.
in a different way. So they
Mhm.
actually made me really put it in a different perspective and say, yes, I've always been about vision. It's about people. It's
Yeah.
about their eyes. It's about their health. It's about their
Yeah.
life. It's about their business.
Mhm.
And with launching the skin care
Mhm.
line, yes,
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
about vision.
And so you have like a 20-year history established optometry business, right?
Yep.
Correct. I'm remembering that. And then so what was happening was people were seeking you out and saying, how are you so successful, and how have you sustained your sustained your business, which is the name of your coaching. Um, and so from there, then you brought that aspect in, and that coaching aspect to other entrepreneurs as well, which is amazing. And then you've always had this spiritual inclination. I know that you're a leader in your congregation's youth group, and then recently joined seminary. Um, and so that's a lot of amazing, beautiful ambitions, endeavors, goals to work toward. How do you find balance?
So you know what? It's funny because when I look at other African American females, I would say there was somebody that I admired. We've kind of lost touch, but there's a season for everything, right? And somebody that I admire, I still admire her today. And I've asked her the same question. And now
Mm-hmm.
that question is being asked of me. That was probably about 15 years ago. I asked, like,
Yeah.
how do you balance everything? Like, you started this amazing school and you're doing this,
Mm-hmm.
you're doing that. And so I think I've gotten to the place, and somebody said it best. They was like, Dr. T, you don't get upset about anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you just don't see that I'm upset. I think there's a moment in life when you realize that there is just certain things that are out of control, and you can only focus, no pun intended, on the matters that are at hand. So
Yeah.
when you're trying to balance things, sometimes, listen, especially as a mom, like I've really gotten to the point that I'm not a super mother, I'm not a super wife, I'm not a super entrepreneur, right? I got to take off that cape
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes. I have to take off that cape sometimes. And yes, some things have to be like, as long as I've talked about this on one of my lives, as long as it's not going to be a detriment to you, there are certain things that you can leave alone. Like
Yeah.
when you're working, there's always something that you have to do. When you're a mom, an entrepreneur, there's always something next that you do that you got to do. I know, Kristen, you probably wake up and you was like, "Oh, I want to try this, or I want to try that." Your mind is constantly going,
Yeah.
but there's a time where you just have to take off that cape and be like,
Mhm.
"Woosah." So that's
That's
how I
great.
balance.
That's great perspective. And what I hear you saying too is the act of taking off the cape is also the act of removing expectations. Um, just affirming what is and leaning into what is and accepting. And acceptance is this is something that I write about a lot. Acceptance does not mean resignation. Acceptance is not resignation.
Exactly.
um,
Exactly.
Acceptance is about seeing what is and letting yourself feel how you feel about it, and letting yourself have that and acknowledging that and affirming that and being compassionate to yourself and being compassionate to others around you. And so that's what I hear you saying when you talk about taking that cape off, is removing those expectations that don't serve us and leaning into what the world has opened up to us.
Yeah, and I
So
think even as I grew as an entrepreneur, I've kind of talked about this a little bit too, about how we are as CEOs and women CEO, female CEOs, right?
yeah.
And
Hmm.
sometimes we take on this air that we have to be much superior because of the marginalization of us.
Yeah.
So we have to be a little bit, we're putting on this air that we are higher,
Hmm.
and that doesn't go well.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like an
with
overcompensation.
Exactly. It doesn't
Yeah.
go well. And I had to learn that. And so when you say leaning in, I had to change that expectation of myself. And I
Hmm.
had to change the expectation of my staff too.
Yeah.
Like I literally had to have them like just revamp and what's the other word? We had to redo or
Yeah.
do
Like
a do-over,
recalibrate. Yeah.
recalibrate that whole system of how we are functioning together in our workplace.
Do you think that part of that too is that we find like, so that I think and this is a perfect segue into, so you and I are talking today too. I'm excited because now it's Black History Month and March, then next week is Women's History Month. And so as we talk about women entrepreneurs and women in business and women of color in business, and we talk about that feeling of overcompensation, um, that it's kind of been thrust historically on us of having to show up and overperform,
Mhm.
as an expectation, um, in order to create our space and say,
Mhm.
and so I think pr- previously and still, but
Mhm.
historically, it's been about showing up and saying, I can do what you can do as well as you can do it.
Mhm.
And so that establishment can sometimes be an overcompensation, because in a perfect world, what we
Mhm.
what we say what we say is, I'm here to do what I do best, and I don't need to compare myself to you.
No.
Um, and so that's the direction that I think that we're headed in. Do you agree?
I agree. I think that's the direction that our foremothers did, and our
Yeah.
aunties and all that good stuff with the liberation of women,
Hmm.
um and having us to be able to vote, having us to be able to um put ourselves out there, that we
Hmm.
can do more. And it's funny because um there are times that I think we do have to go back in history and look at some of these accomplishments, and some may even say that they're small accomplishments, and I change the narrative a little bit and say, no, these are big accomplishments, because whenever you accomplish something, it doesn't matter whether or not it's big or in the media or whatever, they're an accomplishment.
Yeah.
So one of the things when you're talking about, and I had to write it down as you were talking, there's a book called The Confidence Code. And it's talking about the psychology of the feminine mind, right? And how it's pretty much why it's a code. It's something genetic in us, that we're nurturers. We're, by divine nature, we're nurturers, right? We are helpers, right? But however, we are also superior in the sense that we can do a lot. And I think the confidence part comes in when we, like you said, we are comparing ourselves to our counterpart males, right? And we shouldn't be doing that, because we are
and
equal.
even other women, I think, too.
And other women, yes, that's a whole nother. That's a summit. That's a whole nother.
It's a summit.
That's a summit. Like, we need to stop doing this, people. Stop comparing yourself to others. Learn from them, yes. But comparing so that you can be like them, be uniquely who you are, what your God-given talent is, what God has put in your spirit to do, because our ancestors have already done it. That's why I kind of like that picture about that's behind me. I bought that in college. And that's charcoal. And it just reminds me of that nurturing, and that's what moms do, and then at the same point, then they let you go so that you can do what you have to do in life. Yeah, right. So
yeah.
So it's definitely Black history and women's history. We can learn from it all.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the beautiful place that we're entering into right now is, so, we're coming through this place of women showing up in full force and saying, I'm here, and saying, I can do what you do as well as you do it. And now we're kind of entering into, I don't really need to compare myself. I have my own skill set, and I'm confident and secure in that. And so I don't need to measure myself by you, whoever that is. And another component that I'm super excited about is the welcoming of vulnerability into the workspace as a strength. And so I think that as we continue to move forward, then what we see is empowerment through empathy and compassion. And so I'm very excited about history as we move forward. I'm very excited about women and men's place in history, because, and you and I have talked about this, men have not been empowered to be emotionally complex beings. And so vulnerability has always been perceived as a weakness. And so as we all elevate and as we all lift up, then what we begin to see is that vulnerability is our greatest strength, because there is no act of courage that did not take vulnerability, where vulnerability wasn't present. And so, and that's across the board. And so it's very exciting to watch history unfold and to watch us move forward. Yeah, it's awesome.
And it's amazing to me, now I'm in seminary, that when we're talking about women, that like stuff that I've learned from church before, it's like out the window. I'm like, oh, we did that? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So there's so much, you guys, that we don't know. So I always encourage people to do your own research, go back in time, and take some of the things that your mom, your dad, your family, your heritage has really brought to whether it be good or bad. How do you learn from the bad, right? And how do you move forward with some of that, especially now as we're talking about Black History Month. And I'm actually putting together a Black History program tomorrow for our church. And the one thing, and the theme is Black family. And the one thing that I'm honing in on is, let's start talking about the people that we don't always talk about. That's not in our history books, right? That are not put on those pages. Let's start talking about those people. And it stems from almost No Hidden Figures, right? That movie. Like, I don't remember them telling me that.
Yeah, exactly. There was no space for that. Right.
There was no space for that. So why don't we start doing that in our own communities to really start, and not to say that we don't. Actually, I had a good conversation with my daughter. She made a point. She was like, Mom, we need to learn about everybody's culture in school.
Yeah.
This is my daughter, 14 years old.
Yeah. And that's really the gift.
That's the way that we will stop all of this, you know, the degrading of people, if we learn about everybody. She's 14, y'all.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's and that's so wonderful. I think it's the gift of the next generation is is inclusivity and really like being shaken awake by it. Across the board, just across the board. So that's wonderful. And testimony to you as a mom. So tell us about, so you've got this presentation coming up in your congregation. That's so awesome. And I wanted to ask you anyway, like, so who's inspiring you right now in Black History Month and in women's history? Like who's, you have this presentation, you're talking about people who aren't talked about, people that we haven't read about in those history books. I say yet because because hopefully those things will be rectified. But yeah, so who's inspiring you right now?
So when you asked that question for me to kind of dig a little deeper, and it seems like some of the little pieces in my history I'm going back to, and one of them is Debbie Allen. Right. Yeah. Debbie Allen, and just an amazing woman, amazing entrepreneur, and just being able to give back into the community, to be able to, through art, which is a form that, is kind of arts and all that stuff. We're not really leaning into it as much. So I'm glad that they added STEAM, STEAM instead of STEM. So, which is good that the arts are included in there. But just, I loved Fame. If I could do Fame all over again, and dancing on the cabs and all that stuff, and just having to do African dance, it reminded me of when I was in school, dance school, and just some of those nuances that she has. But she has a way of getting, I don't want to say nice, nasty, but she has a way of being very stern and nice at the same time. And I kind of do the same thing.
That is a gift.
Do the same thing. Yes. You could be stern and nice at the same time. You gotta get it moving. Let's go. No.
Yep.
You got to get that look and everything. Sometimes people tell me about my look. So, and just her air, the way she presents herself, the way, her posture, and that's a dancer thing, but I think just her posture, I don't even know even if she wasn't a dancer, just a posture that she puts out there, the air herself. That she puts out there is just amazing. And I've been following her on Instagram, and just her reading stories to kids, and just being able to shift even in the midst of COVID has just been, she's been something that I've always followed. She's been a person I've always followed.
That's awesome. And I really appreciate you exposing her to me. That was definitely a gift. And so I'd reached out to several of our clients, and asked for them for Black History Month to share with us who's inspiring them now. And so you had shared Debbie Allen, and part of the gift for me of reaching out to our clients and going, who do you love? Like, who are you appreciative of? And learning about some people I didn't know about, because they're not in the history books or they're not
Right.
talked about as much. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I really appreciate that. And I'm super excited for your congregation who's going to hear this great talk that you have. This is going to be awesome.
Yeah, we're trying to mix everything in, and we have for tomorrow we're going to talk about Cab Calloway, Alex Haley. We're going to bring in some hip hop to that, and just talk about what it means to be family and to be a Black family.
Yeah, that's so perfect.
We have
I
a
love
couple of
it.
youth doing spoken word and poetry, so it's going to be
Yeah.
especially inspired by Amanda, who just the
Yes.
inauguration. So yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
Yeah.
amazing.
Definitely a highlight of the inauguration. Very,
Yes.
very
Me too.
affirming. Like I know we're just like, yes, it's just that feeling of like, yes, forward and forward and forward.
Yes, forward.
Forward we go.
That's it. We got to keep moving. I mean, it's one of the I guess mantras in my household. My dad would say, "Just keep it moving."
Is that one of your favorite mantras? And if not, what is a favorite mantra of yours?
Yeah, keep it moving is pretty
that feels right for you.
I think it does feel right for me. I don't think lately I've been, as we're trying to do all this social media stuff and putting up stuff. One of the things that I know that for me, I found I think that going back kind of full circle, what we were talking about before is, striving for perfection. And I think sometimes when we are always looking for that perfect, right? I think with photography, it brings out who you are. And you are perfectly and wonderfully made.
Yes.
Regardless, right?
We are worthy right now. Worthy right now, as you are.
All this stuff and enhancements and everything like that, although I have my beauty line, it's more about keeping what you have. It's not about, it's about making sure we keep the beauty that you have. Yeah. But going back to, I digress a little bit. So going back to that is that we should not be, the mantra that I'm kind of using right now, we should not be striving for perfection, because if we're striving for perfection, we will never reach it. What the perfection is striving for excellence, because you can catch it.
Yeah, that's great. That is a beautiful
excellence.
Mindset. Yeah, that's a beautiful mindset. Perfect. So before we wrap up and bring it to a close, tell us a little bit more about some of the services that you offer through your coaching, also about your optometry. Tell us about what you are bringing to the people of the world, and tell us how they can find you.
Yeah, so you guys, I am basically putting everything into one place. It's at www.logiceyecareinc.org, and everything goes right there. And everything is there about our services that we have. If you're in Pennsylvania or in Philadelphia, I'm licensed here, but I don't practice optometry like most. We provide mobile eye care services, and I'm so glad I finally got my second shot. So I haven't seen my seniors in a year. So March 1st, I'll be back on the road, seeing my patients.
So huge.
Oh my gosh. So we do mobile eye care services. We do have in-office care as well. And, God set me down to be able to do life and business coaching. So we do have consulting opportunities to see where your life is. If you need some goals to be set and somebody to push you to get that done. We have some courses that you can take on your own. It's established as an academy, and it's constantly building. So if you have a class inside you, hint, hint, I'm looking at Kristen. If you have a class inside you and you want to teach, you may want to use the academy to be able to, get your little link in there, and we are building it. I want to say that as an academy, almost like a university, that this is your online place to really learn and grow, and learn and grow with business, learn and grow for yourself. I have a few ebooks in there that you can get as well. And I launched a eye care skincare line. So we want to get them eyes looking good from the inside and out. See where I'm going with that, guys? So I'm taking care of your eyes from the inside and out. So we have a skincare line as well. So it's just during this COVID, I did not let that stop me. So that's why that term, keep it moving, right? Because that's where we're going. And I have a live with Coffee with Dr. T at 8 o'clock in the morning, just to give you some encouragement and inspiration. So with that, I'm at Tamara Hill Bennett, which is my personal page, which is a public page now. But I'm at 2020 Eye Doctor on Instagram, and Eudaimonia Beauty. I guess we got to spell that out.
It's on your website though, the Eudaimonia,
I'm there. So go and follow those pages. I've just done TikTok, so I'm on TikTok as Dr. TOD as well. And so go figure. Me and my daughter and I just did our first TikTok together. So
that's perfect.
Crazy.
That's perfect.
So, I'm all over the place, but if you just want to message me on Instagram, I can give you that as well at 2020 Eye Doctor.
2020 Eye Doctor, perfect. And then your website scrolling down here. Thank you so much for taking time with us today. It's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure.
You guys, they're amazing. Just amazing. Amazing experience.
Yes. We just so enjoyed having you into the studio, and we'll look forward to having you in again.
Yes, very soon.
Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us. Have a great rest of your day. And bye Facebook world. Bye Facebook.
Don't forget to comment. Oh yeah, you got to comment and share. Comment and share. Let's do this.
And then you'll find it on YouTube as well by the end of the day.
Okay, awesome.